Hi, we're Starbright Curios. I'm Wendy, I'm the little sister.
And I'm Janet, and I'm the big sister. We started our business of Starbright Curios so that we could have a little art therapy and spend more time together.
Our focus lately has been on felting. We absolutely love what we can do with the wool, and we do both needle felting and wet felting.
Yeah, and we'll just tell you a little bit about felting, but all felt starts with fibers from animals. We only use sheep and alpaca. Each little fiber has many scales on it, and you can force these together into a fabric or three-dimensional object. We use fleece, which has been cleaned and carded and is all set to work with. We use batting like this as the base for a lot of our projects. This has fibers running in many directions. We also use batting, which has been dyed, and it's the base for a lot of needle felting projects. And for wet felting, we primarily use roving, and this has the fibers all combed in one direction. We're going to separate from each other right now so I can take my mask off and tell you a little bit about needle felting. And after I'm done that, Wendy is going to give a little demonstration on wet felting.
All right, we'll see you shortly.
Hi, I'm back. I want to show you a little bit about needle felting. Needle felting is a process by which we take these special barbed needles and force the wool fibers together to form a solid object or a fabric. You just begin by poking, and slowly but surely this will form a solid object. After much manipulation, you'll end up with something like this little snail family. It's been poked many times to take on the desired shape. We use needle felting to make many of our projects. Something that's very popular are our little needle felted sewing kit / pin cushions. So inside the jar, we've got everything you need for emergency repairs. We make these in many sizes. Some in these lovely repurposed antique cups. We make lots of fun things for Christmas, like our little felted snowman. We have beautiful hummingbirds that look great hanging on your tree or around your house, anywhere. We've started making little kitchen witches. These are so much fun to make, and they're covered with locks from a cute little Angora goat. We have a few larger projects like this Santa wreath. And right now we're working on a lot of gnomes to get them all set for Christmas. This little gnome is about to get a fresh new coat. Now I'm going to show you a few of our wet felted projects as well.
Hi, I'm back. I'm going to do a quick talk on our wet felting techniques. Wet felting is a process where we lay out the wool fibers and we massage it with very hot, soapy water. The combination of the hot water and the soap helps the wool fibers to knit together and bind into a permanent, either flat fabric, like a scarf, or into a three-dimensional shape. So we've got beautiful scarves. This one is a needle felted scarf. The fibers were laid out on very fine silk that we dyed with turmeric, worked it until the fibers are permanently bound. We've also got many wool scarves. This one is done with fine merino wool. It is reversible. Trimmed with mink. We had a mink coat that we didn't want to see go to the landfill, so we are trimming some scarves with it. This scarf was done with alpaca fiber, which is so soft, very buttery smooth, and again, trimmed with a little bit of mink. We've got marvelous three-dimensional objects. We have mittens. Soft and warm and very pliable. Each mitten is a unique object. No two are ever the same. We have felt-covered soap. We've bound the fibers around the soap. It acts like a washcloth and an exfoliant in the shower all in one. It's less slippery. You're not going to drop it. Your soap will also last much longer. It's available in many different varieties in our shop. We also have three-dimensional objects. We've got dryer balls. These are the best dryer balls you're going to find anywhere. They're beautiful, will last for years and years. All the details are available on our website. We've got diffuser bracelets and carvent diffusers. We have mittens and booties, coasters. We have cell phone cases. And we've also got these beautiful tooth fairy houses. We have these in a few different varieties. The lid comes off, your child can put their tooth inside, and you can leave behind one of our official tooth fairy visit cards, so your child will know they arrived. That's it. I will see you later with a live demonstration on how to do wet felting.
Every year, part of our Christmas tradition is to make Christmas spiders. We had this story when we were children, so it goes way back in our family. We make these spiders out of an assortment of crystals and very sparkly beads. Each one is different, and they all come with a copy of the story of the legend of the Christmas spider. Very popular with kids. And this year, because of COVID, we've made these little toilet paper ornaments to kind of poke fun a little bit at this tough situation. So we make the little cardboard tube, we embroider some felt, and we made ourselves a little jig so we can bend the wire. Each one is slightly different with lots of sparkly Christmas beads. Okay, Wendy, we're all set to watch you wet felt. So how do you do it?
All right, so we're going to do a quick demonstration on wet felting a table centerpiece runner for Christmas. So what we need is a bowl of hot water. We're going to fill it with nice soap. We use lavender scented hand soap. Doesn't have to be fancy. We have this fun little tool that squirts the water very gently on our fibers.
That's called a ball browser.
A ball browser. Towels. This is wet felting. It's wet. You need a lot of towels. We also need netting. After we've laid out the wool fibers, we use the netting to keep the work in place while we start to work on it. We've also got a fun little felting tool that Janet made for us. It's got nice little bumps. It helps to massage the fibers together. So I'll just do a quick demonstration on how we do some of the layout, and then we'll cut to the next step. So when you hear felters talking about tiling the fibers, you pull them off very fine. You lay the fibers down. I'll just do a few just to give you an idea.
What kind of wool are you using?
So this is fine merino wool. It's very, very soft. It's lovely to work with, and it has a fairly long staple length. The staple length is how long each of the fibers are. So you lay them out. You overlap the edges a little bit. That'll help things bind together. And the secret is to go in different directions. So I'm only just going to show a short little section here, but you want to make sure you go in 90-degree angles. You can also run your fibers diagonally. And once you have them laid out, this is the base for our table runner. Once I have it all laid out in a larger form, I'm going to wet it down, and then I'll add the top direction.
All right, we'll let you finish up your layout.
I'll be back in a moment. Okay, I'm back. So I've laid out most of the background. And again, I've just been tiling on the wool fibers, very thin, very even. You want to make sure that you've filled in all your spaces so there's no gaps. And just to make this a little bit more special and festive, I'm going to add in some silk. The silk adds a lovely bit of shine, and as the fibers bind together and shrink, the silk makes wonderful wiggles that are eye-catching and adds a little bit more pizzazz to our work. So I'm going to continue to lay out the silk, and when I come back, we're going to show how we make the pattern. We're going to do a poinsettia design on this with some green leaves, and we've got beautiful reds and yellows for the center of the flowers, and I'll show you quickly how we create different shapes on our work.
What are you doing now, Wendy?
Right, so now I'm working on the background of our design. I'm putting on some green roving. I've pulled it very, very thin, and this will be the leaves and vines that are going to be in behind our poinsettia flowers.
Wendy's working on her poinsettia design right now, so she's laying out blended colors of red in the shape of a poinsettia, and she's mixed in different silks, etc. It's going to take her a little while to get the whole works done. Here's a close-up of one of Wendy's poinsettia flowers just before wet felting.
Okay, so we finished our layout. We've covered the work with netting, and we've got a bowl of hot soapy water. And I'm going to use our ball browser, and I'm going to spray water all over everything. The secret is to get it all evenly wet, and then we'll start the massaging process and gently work the fibers until they all knit together. Okay, so I've spread water all over everything, and now I'm very, very carefully pushing down on all the fibers, trying to make sure that the water goes all the way through. You can see from the different colors here where it's almost pink, that's very, very wet. Where it's white, the fibers aren't wet enough there. Dry fibers will not felt in this technique. So this takes a little bit of time. I have to go very carefully so I don't disturb the beautiful pattern we've created. And when we get to the next step, I'll be back. So we've wetted it down. We flipped it over and we tucked any of the loose fibers underneath so we have a lovely straight edge. And now we're down to the rubbing. And we got to go very, very, very carefully at first. We're going to start to get the fibers to knit together and lock. And once they've started to knit, then we're going to remove the netting. I'm not going to take it off yet. If we do it too soon, the pattern will shift. Okay, so now we've taken the netting off. And I always go through and I just check to make sure that the fibers are where I want them to be before we go too far. At this point, it's very, very loose felt. The fibers really are just laying on top of each other. So this is the time to do the final adjustments. And then I'll cover it over and start massaging some more. And it's going to turn into felt very soon. Okay, so now we've covered it over with a thin plastic sheeting. That's again going to keep the fibers from migrating. I'm dampening the surface just a little bit. And I'm going to take our felting tool. This has nice little bumps on it. And I'm going to massage it. This takes a long time. The secret is not to rush. You have to go slowly to get the fibers to all migrate together. I'm going to massage it for quite some time and then I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so our next phase, after we've rubbed and rubbed and rubbed, we're going to roll it. We've literally taken a pool noodle, cut a piece that's a little bit wider than a project, rolling it up, bubble wrap, plastic, all together. And we're going to roll it up. And at this phase, we really have to roll back and forth like this for a very long time. This action agitates the fibers and again, helps them to knit together, and it'll make a much stronger fabric. And I will do this for quite some time and I'll come back with our next step. Okay, so I've unrolled our project and I'm just double checking the edges. We want to make sure that all the fibers are together and nothing is hanging over. So I'm very lightly rubbing back and forth on the edge, trying to make it as neat as I can. Okay, so now we've unrolled it. We've taken the bubble wrap off. It's upside down. And I'm rubbing quite firmly now on the back side, and you can see it's starting to wiggle a little bit. We're starting to really shrink the fibers in. So I'll continue to do this for a little while, and then we'll get it flipped back over on the other side and continue the process. Okay, so now you can see we're getting much firmer. It's starting to turn into felt. We've taken the covers off, and I'm going to run it with the rolling pin, and that will help further bind the fabric. In case you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm hitting it with the pool noodle. It helps to shock the fibers and helps with the fulling process. That's the final stages of getting the felt to stick together. Okay, so now we're in the final stages called fulling. This is the fun part. We literally take the work, drop it on the table. The action of the dropping and the rubbing helps to finally lock the fibers together. Right, I think we are finished. It's still very, very wet, so once it's all dry, the silk that we added in on the background and on the petals is really going to shine. So when it's finished and when it's all dry, I'll take the iron to it, smooth it all out, and it'll be up on our shop very, very soon.